Welcome back to Reality Radio Podcast. Today we will be ranking Challenge MTV's The Challenge seasons. We only will be ranking 33 of the 36 seasons, just because we have not gotten a chance to watch Extreme Challenge, Real World vs. Real Rules, and Challenge All Stars. So we will only be ranking 33 seasons. And just to let you know how we'll be doing this, competitiveness of the cast, the competitions, the challenges, the eliminations. Drama obviously carries the show. So that's really how we'll be ranking it. Now, honestly, with the challenge, there are very few seasons that I actually do not like. So these first couple seasons are the only ones that I would say are actually bad seasons that I just cannot get through. It's actually a pretty positive list, even if something is 25 on the list. It's still a really solid season. It's just that they have to fall somewhere. It's only the first couple of seasons that I'm about to name here that I think are just atrocious. So without further ado, let's get started on number 33. Coming in as the worst season of all time, we have The Island. There's no surprise there. There's just so much bad with this season. There are no challenges, no elimination, and the cast wasn't great either. It was just Johnny, Kenny, and their friends who just kind of took over, and they're extremely unlikable. And the final ended up with being just TJ telling Kenny, "Hey, Kenny, pick who's going in your boat." And Kenny literally got to handpick the best people on the island, and the rest that had a key that was left over got in the other boat. It was just an awful season, awful format, terrible cast all around. So it ends up in number 33 here. All right, coming in at number 32, we have a season that is slightly better than The Island. It's The Ruins. I put it above The Island, mainly because the format is one of my favorites. Individual bank accounts, I always think that's a great idea. Putting money in your hands as you win challenges, and then if you get eliminated, that money that you earned goes into the person that just eliminated you, goes into their bank account. So it raises the stakes in a way where it's you're literally fighting for every dime you earn. The challenges were great. The eliminations were some of my favorites. It really falls flat with the cast. I think the challenge team is maybe the worst team assembled in challenge history. I'm not sure. It has to be one of the worst teams. They were just so bad. They couldn't win anything, and the season was just so lopsided. And then we got to watch the champions just win time and time again. And the way the format was set up, they could literally handpick each matchup, which was also terrible. Also, the unlikability of the cast of the champions team as well. And it wasn't super strong, likable, lovable people were on the challenge team to really balance it out. It was just okay people on the challenge team and really hateable people on the champions team. Aside from Darrell and Abyss and some Cyrus and a few people like that. But so yeah, it was just all around, not all around terrible, but the cast was just so bad that it drags the season all the way down to number 32 on our list. All right, coming in at number 31 is Bloodlines. When I heard about the theme, I thought it was a really cool way to get new players onto the show, because obviously the Real World and Road Rules weren't on anymore, so they needed to bring on new fresh meat. And the format just completely botched the entire theme. I felt I don't know what they were thinking with it. It was just so unfair to the male-female teams, because they alternated men and women days in eliminations. For the entire show, they were up for elimination, where the same sex teams, they got days off. I think once it went into teams, two big teams, it made things a little more interesting, but it was just so unfair with the way they were doing it with the men and women elimination days. Also, the Bloodlines, they weren't all that entertaining. The competitions were okay. I think it got really interesting with Abram coming back in, because he's just always a fun character to have on the show. But For the most part, it was pretty stale. It was hard to get through. I tried rewatching it, and I think I got through half of the season, so I gave up. I was just like, I can't get through this anymore. Like, I already knew the ending, but there are seasons that even though you know the ending, you still can go back and rewatch it over and over again. This wasn't one of those seasons. It was just, even if I didn't know the ending, I wouldn't finish it, and I'll just Google the ending. It was just hard to get through. Not in the way that the ruins or the island was hard. It was hard to get through just because it was so stale and just dull. So yeah, that's why Bloodlines falls at number 31 for us. Now, coming in at number 30, this is actually a shock to me. I didn't realize this season is going to be so low. But I moved up a season just after rewatching it, and this one kind of fell because of that. So coming in, we have Total Madness. And this season has to be like one of the driest seasons. I felt like nothing really happened. There was no storyline to follow per se. It was just, I think it's Skull's twist. The Skulls really hindered the gameplay, so there was no thought out strategy going on. It was just, all right, when can I get my skull? I can't really do anything until I get my skull yet. All right, I have my skull, so I don't have to do anything. Everyone else is going to want to get their skull, and then alternating the male and female elimination days. It really just slowed everything down. It was just so bad and boring. The challenges were terrible. Had to be some of the worst set of challenges in the show's history. Like, I didn't enjoy. There was maybe one or two good ones. All in all, it just drops the season all down to number 30. I don't even know much to say about it, honestly. The cast was okay. I really think that the cast hindered from the Skull's twist being implemented here, just because you're taking away strategy, which is the foundation of a lot of the drama that happens. So yeah, that puts this season at number 30 on our list. Coming in at number 29 is Challenge Double Agents. This one, it was just completely bad all around, like just dry. I was so excited for it with the addition of some of my favorites like Darrell and Teresa, and then you have Natalie Anderson from Survivor. It was just like, I was just so excited for the season, but then it just fell flat. The Skull twist completely ruined anything interesting happening, and I don't know why they're so obsessed with that, but that just ruined the whole momentum. I don't even know what to say about it. Like, nothing memorable happened this season. So yeah, I mean, it's just number 29. It could be further down, but yeah, number 29 on our list. Coming in at number 28, we have Rivals 3. Now this was an interesting season for me because this actually has a lot of very entertaining moments throughout the season. It's a bunch of Are You the One people, which is fine. It was fine. It just is no competition. It felt like the complete opposite of Double Agents and Total Madness, right? Where that was just all competition, all challenge, no strategy, very little drama. Rivals 3 is like on the other end of the spectrum, where it's just all drama, very little competition, and semi strategy going, and you can kind of see like, and that's what this one is actually the better show when you go the other way, because it's just more fun to watch that. There were a couple episodes I didn't like the way that the season was edited, because there were episodes where they didn't even have a challenge or an elimination, and it was weird. It literally felt like an episode of Are You the One? So I think just the choppiness of the episodes, the fact that there was just no real competition for like Johnny and Sarah, it's just kind of a watch season. It's a fun season to watch. It was just a very lighthearted season to watch, if you just here for the drama. But you know, it just falls at number 28 for us. All right, for number 27, we have the Challenge 30-30. This was actually a hard one to place because I really enjoy so many things about this season. The cast is pretty great. The challenges, the eliminations, but it's just a hard season to finish just because of the things that happened with Camilla, just and seeing her go on to win, it's just hard to watch for me personally. So that's why it kind of falls here at number 27. I didn't really know where to put it. I didn't want to above some other seasons where I can actually get through those and enjoy it all the way to the end. This one I really can't, but it just starts off so good. I think the purge completely is just like unnecessary, almost ruins the season. So so I ended up putting it at number 27. It's not the worst, but there's just so many other seasons that I just enjoyed all the way throughout. So yeah, so it ends up in number 27 for our list. All right, coming in at number 26, we have Inferno 3. Now, this is like the first appearance of the old school challenges, and I think it's fitting for this one to be the lowest ranked one. Like, it has a great cast, an all-star caliber cast, but for some reason, like, it just kind of falls flat. I mean, it's a good season. There's just like no climax to it. There's not that many memorable moments. I think it's just a solid B- season. Back then, the challenges weren't all that interesting, because back in the older seasons, it was more about the characters and the personalities, the relationships, and things like that. So the challenges weren't too elaborate. They just, they got the job done. You have a winner. But the thing is, with this season, the characteristics and the personality and the relationships didn't necessarily shine this season either. So it just kind of everything was just kind of average, and that's kind of why it ends up at number 26. Coming in at number 25, we have the Duel 2. I really enjoyed Duel 2. It's one of the ones that's just an easy watch. I think it has a good story. It has several good stories going on, and it's just a fun season to watch. Like, I don't mind it. It has one of the best premiere episodes of all time. Eliminations are great. The challenges are solid. It's actually one of the first seasons with the dailies. I don't know if you know the challenge dailies, where you kind of got to see a lot of more uncensored footage, and so I think that's why I enjoy this season a lot more, because we just saw more of what was going on. We saw more of the cast. It's just, I think that's kind of why I favor this season a lot more than a lot of other people. So it's just, I think it just tweaked the rules a little bit, tweaked the whole the list. That's the infamous list. Aside from that, I love the Duel. I love the format of the Duel. I wish it was brought back. It's one of the better individual formats. I think now they get so convoluted with, now we have individual seasons. They have the whole switching partners and teams and like the Troyokas and, and all those different types of things. But Duel is just simple. You're in elimination because you're the last picked. You're not picked in the lineup, and then you get to choose who you want to call out. You get to call out whoever you want. I think it's just a great. I would love to see that back. Just simple Duel season. Duel 2 coming in at number 25. All right, coming in at number 24, we have Vendettas. Now, this is another solid, fun season. I think it's a great season to rewatch. It's very fresh. It was fresh at the time. We had a lot of new blood on the show. This was the first time the UK cast was brought on, and the Big Brother cast members. So, the thing they were trying, and I was really excited when I saw the cast. Like, oh, this is cool. Now we're opening it up to more people and different personalities and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. Also had the Mercenaries this season as well, which I thought was dope. It was good to see some of those people back, like Laurel and Derek. So I think this is a solid season. I don't like the format. I do not like the way that they voted in. I don't like the whole Troyoka situation. If that's what it was called this season, I'm not sure, but I didn't like that. I feel like those were the worst parts of the episodes, watching those little meetings. The thing about this season is that there's nothing that really sets it apart from others. Like, I often get things mixed up between this season and Dirty 30. For some reason, it just I just always confuse those two. There's nothing that sets this apart where I'm like, oh yeah, this is Vendettas. So I think that's kind of why it falls here. It drops here at number 24 for us. So at number 23, we have War of the Worlds 2. This was actually a disappointment because I was really excited to see two big teams back. But I did not like the format and how they did it. It was so unbalanced. The teams themselves was very lopsided. Like, you have a team full of a bunch of rookies, basically, and they are just not ready for the challenge. You can tell. And then a team of seasoned veterans. It was just bad. It was like Gauntlet 3 all over again. The format definitely didn't help it at all. It didn't give them any chance. I like the concept of War of the Worlds, where they have the UK team and then the US team, but it just didn't play out. The execution wasn't great. So, but we have some great drama, some really great storylines going on this season. Then the US team kind of got punished for winning and keeping all their players because it was more of a detriment and a disadvantage to have that many players at the end in the final. So it was just a really weird season. I wish they thought this out a little more or didn't think it out too much. However it went, just did something different than what they did. So yeah, that's why it falls here, number 23 for us. All right, coming in at number 22. Now, this may be a bit of a controversial placement, but this is where I have Rivals coming in. I know how much everyone just loves this season, but it just doesn't hold up for me on the rewatch. Even I loved this season when it first came on because Rivals was a new theme. It's fresh. I was a huge fan of West back then. And so I was really excited. CT was coming back on the scene. So it was a really exciting time that when it came out. But rewatching it, it's really kind of hard to get through. It's still a fun season. There's still some great moments throughout it. I think the competitions don't really hold up that well because it's just they just kind of fall flat. The eliminations are okay, but the challenges really weren't that all that interesting. There were some great moments though. There, like the final elimination. There are some parts of the final that was really great. Seeing a rookie team, Leroy and Mike, make it all the way to the end. The premiere episode was really, really solid. One of the best. I feel like the first episode and like the last couple episodes of the season were like the best ones. But it was really hard when just seeing how Cara Maria was treated. Jen was just so annoying on this season. Like, I forgot just how frustrating it was to watch her. And essentially all these people that were just so unlikable, they got away with it and ended up winning. And it was like I don't really like this season that much. Not a bad season at all. It's just there's others that I just prefer over it. So that's what Rivals comes in at number 22 on our list. Coming up in number 21, we have the season that immediately follows Rivals, Battle of the Exes. And I feel like I'm a lot higher on this season than most people. I just really enjoyed this vibe that this season had. It wasn't super crazy or anything. It wasn't, there was a crazy drama, which is probably why a lot of people don't like it. The challenges were okay. The eliminations were solid. But I just feel like it was just like a lighthearted, fun season to watch. Like, it just seemed like people were just having a good time. I feel like Exes was needed because the very next season that aired was Battle of the Season. So I think it has its place. It's a solid season. I was a big fan of Ty and Emily back then, so I really loved their story. Going in 3 eliminations and making it all the way to the final. Overall, it's a really, really solid season for me. So that's why it comes in number 21 spot. Alright, so coming in at number 20, this is where I have Final Reckoning. I absolutely love this season, and it was kind of hard where I wanted to place it because there's so much about the season that I love, but then there's a couple things that I really, really didn't like. But overall, it's just such a great season. Seeing Shane back causing chaos is so much craziness this season, so much drama. We had like the Lavender Ladies. You have the Young Bucks, you have Johnny and Cara Maria, and the fact that Johnny and Cara Maria were kind of like the I don't even want to call them underdogs, but they were just like outnumbered finally. That was a great to see. And I think there's so much, like I said, so much greatness about this season. However, I do feel like the Redemption House, I liked it, but I just didn't like the way they continued it, like the execution of it. I don't think if you lose the redemption challenge that you get to stay in the Redemption House. And then people coming in the middle of the season, it was really weird. I didn't like that either, even though I love that Ashley ends up winning. It really is such a solid season. So that's it. That's why it comes in at number 20 for us. Coming in at number 19, we have Fresh Meat 2. Now, I'm a big fan of both Fresh Meat seasons. I really love the concept. I think the Exiles, one of the better form of eliminations too. I feel like it's very underrated season because it's not crazy. There aren't that many like standout people, challenge stars on it. So it's just not. It's a season that's very like overlooked. But it's such a great season. It has like the story is like you could not have written it better. Having the two warring sides, and then Landon just wanted to play his own game, and seeing him dominate the Exiles and the final with Carly, who's perceived to be like the weakest girl. That's such a great story. Like, it's so great, and I was a big fan of Landon at the time, so that was like awesome. I think the challenges are great this season. They're really fun to watch. And also I think that the vibe in the house is just like a really fun season, a fun group of people. It wasn't too dark, too serious or anything like that. It was just like a lot of fun, which is, I think it's something that definitely is needed nowadays. I really enjoy watching it back. So yeah, that's why it comes in at number 19, Fresh Meat 2. Coming up in number 18, we have Battle of the Seasons 2. Now, this may be a little high for most fans, but I actually really enjoyed this season on the rewatch. I think at the time I didn't like it because I didn't like all the people that were on it, or most of the people that were on it. It was a lot of first time players, and I didn't like them on the real world season, so I wasn't too excited about seeing them on the challenge. And but after rewatching it, this season is actually really great. It's a fresh new cast. They have their own dynamic, their own politics going on, their own relationships, and I feel like coming off of seasons like Cutthroat and Rivals and Exes, where the veterans really dominated those seasons, we get a lot of these new players, these new regulars that are going to start coming on. And they're showing that they can run this game. They can play this game too. The veterans were outnumbered completely and got picked off. And I think the challenges are great. I love this format of the 4 teams. Really enjoyed, like, the drama was crazy, intense, and fun at the same time. The story, like, such a great storyline going on. Great stories. Seeing Alton back, seeing Trishelle. The only downside is probably just the winners, I would say. But I can't even be mad at them because they played like a great game, and they had their problems as well. So it wasn't like just an easy win. So I feel like this is like a really top-notch season. I think people who are down on it are just people who just don't want to see a season without Johnny Bananas, so that's really all it is. But this is a really great season. Very rewatchable. Very, very fun to rewatch. So that's why it ends up at number 18 here on our list. All right, coming in at number 17, we have Gauntlet 3. Like, overall, it's not a great season. Like, it's completely lopsided. The veterans just dominate the entire season. But I think that there's really great moments that just puts this season above others, like Coral, Katie, Beth, and then watching Frank and Jillian, when all these eliminations and go into the final with a pretty beaten up rookie team and still winning is just a great story. I think the final carries this season all the way up to number 17. Without it, if the Vets would have won, this would have been all the way at the one of the bottom seasons on this list, honestly. But the fact that the veterans dominated, but they just got in their own way in the final with having Eric on their team, and Eric couldn't finish, so the rookies ended up winning by default. But it was still such a great win. Like, the final episode is one of the best final episodes in the history. It's so good. The first couple episodes are really good. The final episode is like, I need to do a top 10 challenge finales, because that one is definitely a top 5 for me. Just the way everything plays out, like, it's another season where you couldn't think that the reunion is so great, another like a top 5 reunion. So I think those moments really bumps this season up by a lot. Without it definitely drops lower on the list. So that's why we have Gauntlet 3 here at number 17. All right, coming up at number 16, we have Battle of the Sexes 2. This is actually my very first challenge season that I watched. This is like my introduction to the series, and it's just so many great characters and personalities and relationships and storylines. So lopsided, but that doesn't matter. I think back, like, these challenges back at this in this era of the series, like, that didn't matter as much, because it wasn't necessarily just about like the competitions. I feel like the personalities and the characters and the storylines, that was the forefront of the show. Now it's more so the competitions, but back then it was just like, yeah, the girls kept losing, but we loved watching their craziness and their personalities and their politicking, the way they went about things. Like getting rid of Ruthie or whoever it is, Rachel, their strongest women, because of politics. I think that the dynamics between the guys and the men team and the women team was really cool to watch, seeing how the men always had like this system and the women didn't. It's very similar to the first Battle of the Sexes. It's just such a fun season to watch, man. There's no complaints here. No, like, yeah, it's lopsided. The guys won all but 3 missions, and they ended up winning the final. But that does not matter. This is still a top-notch season, and yeah. So that's why it's here, number 16. I would not be mad at anyone putting in their top 10. I think it's great, but it just falls here on our list at number 16. Coming in at number 15, we have War of the Worlds. Now this season, this placement is definitely just riding on my first time watching it when it aired, because I have not rewatched the season back yet, haven't gotten to it. But yeah, this is just an amazing season. It's my favorite out of the most like recent ones, when they started bringing all these new people on. It's dramatic, it's competitive, very competitive. I think that a lot of these new faces, they added something to the show. They really added this new energy to the show for this one season, because most of them aren't doing it anymore, aren't on the challenge anymore. So it's one season that they were great. And I think that the eliminations were solid, and all the eliminations, it was something different every time, which I wish they would go back to that. I think having them compete in pairs, I like the pairs. I like their dynamics. I would have liked to see them, compete all the way to the end together. I think that would have changed some things as well, because when they split them up individually, then people can kind of pick and choose who they want to target a little differently. So I think that's like the only negative for it, but everything else is great. I feel like it was a lot of fun energy this season, and with Turbo, Natalie, and Theo making it to the end of what was said to be the hardest final in challenge history, I think that was really cool. Turbo winning was great, because I really liked him. And also West played a great game. He played a really interesting political game this season, and seeing him make it all the way to the end and lose was also really great. And Johnny leaves early, so it's just like a lot of things. Really, like these rookies really mixed up a lot of things. They really came and made their mark this season, and so that's why this one comes at number 15 on our list. All right, coming in at number 14, we have the challenge fresh meat. They brought in a bunch of random new people that weren't on either shows and just brought them onto the challenge and paired them up with the veterans. And I feel like it was needed at that time. It was because you can tell there were several people that were starting to take breaks and were declining, and so they wanted to keep the show fresh. And the best way to do that is to bring in a whole new crop of people. Like, there wasn't a team that I didn't enjoy. So it was just like so many solid personalities out of this cast, and they really carried it because, like I said, like the challenges weren't anything too crazy. I think the craziest thing they did was the Shark Tank challenge. The dynamics between Coral and Evelyn and Kenny and Tina and Tawny and Johnny and Tanya. Like, there's so many good dynamics between the different teams, Derek and Diem, and Wes and Casey. So it was just a great. It's great. A lot of these older seasons are going to be more so about that, about the dynamics, the social dynamics, the personalities. That's what it's going to be more so about. And those are great seasons to watch because it really doesn't matter who wins or who's dominating. You're still going to enjoy the show. Yeah, so that's why this season comes in at number 14, because it's just, it's top-notch season. So yeah, coming at number 14, Fresh Meat. Coming up at number 13, we have The Duel. This was the challenge's first individual season, so it was really like game changing. Like, they haven't done anything like this before, where it's just a man and woman who wins at the end. So that was dope. This was also a season where you can just call out your opponent, which also hasn't happened before. There have been like vote-ins and deliberations and things. This was just strictly like, you have the lineup, you call out who you want to keep safe, and whoever's at the end, they get to choose whoever they want to go up against. So that was another big thing that they brought into the show. And also, I feel like the storylines this season were really solid. Like, obviously DM storyline is really sweet. Her and CT. You get Svetlana, the underdog storyline. It was kind of like Svetlana and Anissa. So we got a lot of really, really, really cool stuff this season. Like, there's nothing to complain about. Like, there's nothing that would change for the season. Maybe just a few cast members I would switch out, but even still, like, it's still a really solid season, a really great season. So that's why it ends up in number 13 here on our list. Coming in at number 12, we have Gauntlet 2. This is actually one of the few seasons I purchased on iTunes. Like, I absolutely love this season. I've seen it over a dozen times probably, just because it's just like the vibe of the season is just so fun, so lighthearted, and it's just very entertaining in a way that has like it's nothing to do with the competition. Like, just the personalities, the relationships, the things that's going on in the house is one of the most entertaining seasons. I think that the competitions were okay. They weren't all that great this season, especially not the final. The eliminations weren't all that great. I don't like the going in against your own team type of elimination format. So I wasn't a fan of that, because they had team captains and you had to battle the team captain in elimination. I would have preferred if they went against each other, but so all that is like, whatever for the season. Like, the best parts about this season come from, and it was like a fresh cast. It wasn't a lot of the same people that's been doing up to that point that have been doing the show like back to back to back. It was like a lot of new people that may have only done like one or two seasons or haven't done any. So it was just really nice to see. So this season comes in at number 12 for us, Gauntlet 2. All right, coming in at number 11 spot, just edging out the top 10. I have to put Challenge 2000 in here. I have to take it all the way back to the old days. I feel sorry for anyone who has not watched this season on YouTube or when it aired. But this is just such a phenomenal season. Oh my God, it was just so entertaining every episode. Like, the characters were just so great with Tech and Heather B and Veronica and Yes and Piggy and Los, I think his name, I think that's how you pronounce it, Los. Like, it was just so good. Every episode was a mess, and I love that this was back when I was actually thinking of not including these types of seasons just because they're so different from what the show is. But like, this was back when they was like living in the RVs and traveling around to different locations to compete in different challenges. So there was no house or anything like that, and the competitions, they were fun to watch. Like, one of the competitions was like they went to some like redneck village or whatever, and literally did a competition called redneck games, and it was just like chasing hogs and belly flopping in the mud and pie eating contest, and it was like it was just so fun to watch. Like, this is just one of my favorites. I've seen it maybe about like 3 or 4 times on YouTube. This is number 11, just edging out the top 10. I mean, it could go in the top 10. It really could. I could change this list up right now, but I put it at number 11. So yeah, number 11, Challenge 2000. We finally cracked the top 10, and coming at number 10, we have the Challenge Cutthroat. This is by far one of my favorite formats this show has ever done. I love the 3-team format. I love the name, first of all, and just the idea that these competitors, there was team captains, they got to pick their teams, and they all compete. There was no theme really. It was just cutthroats. Just like there's going to be some very physical competitions, and which they were. I don't think the eliminations were all that great. There were a couple of good ones, but the challenges were awesome this season. And I think the competitors, there's a lot of new fresh competitors coming onto the scene, and this was one of the seasons that had the challenge dailies, where you can see uncensored clips and things like that. So we got to see a lot more that was going on, and this house was a mess. Everything was a mess. We got to see the beginning of the Laurel versus Kara saga. You also got to see Abram and Kara, and seeing the blue team get completely decimated only to like 2 people at the end. But I think that's just a brilliant, this is a great format though. I don't know why they haven't done it. Maybe because they can't really fully even out everything, but I don't care. I want to see these people pick their teams, and I want to see it with no theme. Just go in there, just cast a bunch of great crazy people and have them pick their teams and let it play out. That's what I want to see. The challenges, like I said, were great. Bottleneck Stampede was probably a top 5 challenge of all time. So yeah, it was just no complaints about this season. It's such a fun season. There's chaos every single day. Every single episode was something crazy going on with each team. There was some sort of chaos going on. So yeah, so that's all right. Coming in at number 9, we have Invasions. Just absolutely love this format. It shines a light on all the newer players, all the people who haven't won, who haven't gotten that spotlight on them, and I really love that aspect of it. Having the champions come in couple episodes in was really cool. I really like that they had to either win an elimination or win a challenge to make it into the main house. Like, everything about this format I loved. It was a really well-rounded cast. like seeing Shane back, seeing Darrell back was really dope. Like the drama was there, the competitiveness was there, like that energy was there. And I know some people really complain about like the eliminations. They wish that the champions and challengers competed against each other. And I think that's the ruins. That's a whole different format. I feel like this was shining a light on these newer players and having the champions go up against them. Like, I don't want to see Cara Maria versus Ashley and Balls In. I don't want to see Laurel versus Sylvia in elimination. No, because it eliminates the idea that you're giving the spotlight to these newer players, because like you would expect the champions to win most of those eliminations, and then it'll just be a bunch of champions at the end that we already know what they can do. So I feel like this was just their way of evening everything out. Yeah, I thought this is great. Ashley winning was a huge plus. I think anyone winning that was in the final I would have been okay with, but I think not Camilla really, but I think Ashley winning and CT winning was dope. I wish like Nelson won or Corey would have won, just to bring the whole thing around full circle, have one of the newer kids win. But Ashley winning was great though. Ashley winning was very surprising. I don't know if anyone thought that would happen coming out of her Real World season. So yeah, so this is number 9 season, top 10 definitely. So yeah, that's Invasions coming in at number 9. All right, coming in at number 8 on the countdown, we have Rivals 2. Now this was a season that had just a perfect amount of everything. Perfect amount of drama, strategy, and politicking. Also perfect amount of competitiveness. I feel like on the women's side, to be fair, it wasn't that competitive. It was like Emily and Paula was winning everything, and then you have Cook and Cara Maria, who were a competitive team as well. But they just kind of, like, I don't know what was up with Cara Maria that season, but she just never really got it together. It's like a fun season to watch. It's one of those things where I was just like enjoying every episode. I found myself laughing, and this is a type of drama where you laugh at it. It's just so stupid. Like the Jimmy and Ketchup and the Knight versus Marlon. So yeah, and that's some great rookies. I mean, they didn't really do much. Like Anastasia and Jessica didn't really shine that much. Anastasia did shine first episode, I think. They were only in one episode. She was just it's a nutcase, but she was a fun one. And then also you had Jordan and Marlon. This is such a great showing for a season. I feel like it just checks all boxes. Like there's nothing that I can think of that I missed out on this season. Like the season lacked. It had everything that I wanted. So that's why it comes in at number 8 for us. All right, so coming in at number 7, we have Free Agents. Now, since Free Agents, we've had so many different types of individual seasons. I would have to say that Free Agents is my second favorite individual format, but this is another one where it's just it was unique at the time. Now they've made different variations of this same format, but this one was it was unique, but it was also better because of the draw. I absolutely love the draw, the suspenseful vibe to the episodes. You never know who's going in. You know who people want to go into eliminations. You know who people vote in. They had some really cool challenges for where they had small teams, big teams, pairs, individuals. Whatever the how they were competing. The challenges were great all around the season. The house was amazing. The location was amazing. The final is one of my favorite finals in the show's history. Absolutely love every single obstacle they did. I love that they got to switch up their partners. The only thing I don't like is the point system thing, or the timing system or whatever, because it's really hard to judge that. Elimination matchups were great. You can throw in who you want, but you can't control who that other person is, because that's all by luck, really. You had some really good matchups that you probably would not have had, and people going home who probably would have had a long stay there if the challenge format, the voting format was like it usually is, where the house votes But this was different. It switched the game up. Fabulous season. So that's why it comes in at number 7 on our list. Coming up in number 6, I have Battle of the Exes 2. Now, I had some trouble trying to place this one within the top 10. So I knew it was a top 10 for me, but I didn't know exactly where I wanted to put it. It was going to be like 9, or maybe it'll make the top 5. So I landed on top 6, on number 6, just because I do feel I love the storyline. It has like a good, it just has like a good story that I feel like comes full circle. Like a well-rounded cast. Everyone had their moments in the spotlight, and it all made sense. It's one of those seasons that I feel like was just perfectly placed together, put together. They did the redemption house, whatever we want to call it. That they did it best there. Like what they did in Final Reckoning was terrible. I feel like what they did with this season was have them in a separate house, and they just had to compete against the next eliminated person or next eliminated team, which is great. And we got to see that off screen, so they didn't take up time on the air. We got to see that like on YouTube or on the site, wherever they put it, like their little competition, Exile competition or whatever. So that was a plus there. They handled that perfectly. And yeah, it's just like a phenomenal season, man. Like the story, like the Wes and Teresa versus Johnny and Nani storyline was great. Johnny Riley and Avery storyline. And then you have Naya being Naya, which is great. You have the introduction of the Are You the One rookies. You like the beginning of Zach and Jenna. Like everything was great this season. Then obviously this is the final season of with Diem and Knight, which is it's just hard to see, especially the DM scenes, but it's still great to have them there and this be kind of like their final season here. So everything was I mean, like I don't know what anyone would complain about this season. The final was great. Like the final was phenomenal. I felt like it was entertaining. The only, I guess, if like a different team other than Jay and Jenna made it, it would have been more competitive, a better show. But you know, I really liked how, you know, things happened and Teresa ended up competing with Leroy. So like everything was just it's just a top-notch season all around. So that's why it kind of falls in. That's why it falls in at number 6 for us. Now coming in at number 5, we have Battle of the Seasons. This was just a no-brainer for me. I knew this was going to be a top 5 season. I just every season in the top 5, I have rewatched it so many more times than any other season. It never gets old. Great storylines going on. You have like the whole inner circle drama with the Road Rules team, with Chadwick and Holly being a little more cutthroat than everyone else would like, because that time alliances was like a big deal. You know, it was like forbidden to be in alliances. That was just like just something people didn't do. And Chadwick and Holly were playing the game in a way that's like, look, I'm looking out for me. And this was back when, you know, everyone's looking out for the team and stuff like that. So that was a big deal. And with Hasela and everything. And then you also have the Steven versus Real World drama and Steven versus Coral. That was another fun. This is fun moments because it's like Steven is just wacko. Back then, it was just really weird. The way he would move. So that was great. We had Mike versus The Miz. You know, Mike was just like, he was just fighting his demons because he wasn't competing the way he thought he should be competing. Then you had the whole splitting the money fiasco. Then you had the hurricane coming, and the hurricane, you can tell it just washed away a lot of the beach that they were at. And you could tell like they had to switch up some of their challenges that they had to do last minute, and some of them that you could tell, like one was like inner tube tango. It was just a very fun challenge to watch. Not even gonna lie, it was very entertaining. But you could just tell like they had to switch up some of their things because the hurricane came. So yeah, it's just a season that I just remember so well. Like all these seasons remaining, I feel like I I remember them hard. Like, I know everything that's gonna happen. That's how many times I've watched these seasons. So yeah, so that's Battle of the Seasons coming in at number 5. All right, coming in at number 4, you have The Gauntlet. Another classic season, big 2-team season. This is actually the first season with eliminations, and they did it where you could just pick whoever you wanted to go into elimination. They didn't have men days or women days, so yeah, you got some co-ed eliminations, and the challenges were fun. The elimination games were fun. Nothing was too serious. I guess, like, as people would call it, like carnival games type stuff, but it was still fun to watch, and it still got physical, it still got aggressive and intense, because they're still competing for, at that time, was a large sum of money, and it still is to a lot of people. And this notion that the earlier seasons weren't as competitive is false, because they were so competitive, maybe even more so competitive back then than they are now, because back then they weren't looking at it like a lifestyle. They were just like, look, I'm here, I'm off work, let me try and get as much money as I can. A lot of authentic, organic rivalries back then as well, so it was just a lot more fun to watch. Yeah, this was always gonna be at the top of the list. Number 4, whether it was gonna be in the top 5, I didn't know, but it was always gonna be at the top, so it lands here at number 4 for us. All right, so coming in at number 3, we have Battle of the Sexes. So this is actually an iconic season. It's one of those seasons where I feel like people would hate it now, because it only focused on the drama, the personalities, the relationships. That was the whole story. That was the whole season. Yeah, it was a competition going on, but it was because it was Battle of the Sexes, a lot of the competitions were, like building, little houses, little tree houses or something like that, or doing these other little, like, kind of cutesy little games, and they were fun to watch. They were, but I think specifically this season, there's just so many moments there that's just from episode 1 on, or just like personable, relatable. That's why we watch the show. There's so many iconic moments that have nothing to do with the competition, like David versus Puck, or Puck versus Ellen, Puck's wedding. Melissa versus what's her name, Julie. I think that was the essence of reality television back then. Was all about the personalities, right? You were just all about the characteristics of people and them interacting, and that's what this was really big on when it started. Seeing people from the real world and the real world interacting on one show in one house. And nowadays it's strictly competitions, which most people like. A lot of people like. Some people like myself that are, I guess, purists, people who've been fans of the show for so long, who know these seasons and really appreciate these earlier seasons of the show, really appreciate these types of moments that we have that were just iconic. This could be anyone's number 1, number 2 season. For us, it falls at number 3, but I definitely would not argue against putting it at number 1 at all. So that's why we have Battle of the Sexes here at number 3. All right, so coming in at number 2, we have Inferno 2. This season, I feel similarly about this one as I did about Battle of the Sexes. A lot of the same points, just the personalities. Like, it only had 20 players, 20 cast members this season, and you couldn't even tell. It was just still such a big season with big personalities, big storylines that people still bring up and remember to this day. It's just such a classic season. Just so many moments. Like I said, it only has 20 cast members, which is really all it needed, because everybody added something. There's maybe like one dud, but even still, like, it didn't matter, because both teams are stacked. Interesting how this season, how back then they could pull something off like that with only 20 cast members, and it'd be such an interesting, entertaining show. Every single episode, something great happened, and it still had the similar types of challenges that the other seasons had, the earlier seasons, where they were kind of just like I won't say like playful, but just kind of like goofy, just not as intense, right? Just not as intense as they are now. And but like I've been saying, like these earlier seasons wasn't about the challenges. It was more so about the relationships, and I think that this is one of those seasons that captured that the most, because you get so many different great interactions here that were just hilarious. Their fights are just stupid funny. So it's just nonstop entertainment every season. This season is actually one of the ones that's on Netflix. This cast was absolutely perfect. Like I said, only maybe like one dud, and that was like John on the good guys team, but it didn't even matter. It was still like a fantastic season, 10 out of 10. Yeah, so that's why this season comes in at number 2 on our list. Finally made it to number 1 on the countdown. And number 1, it can be no other than my absolute favorite season, The Inferno. Just everything about this season is perfect to me. The cast, the competitions have a perfect mixture of super competitive, lighthearted, funny, entertaining, intense personalities, the drama, the rivalries. Just, oh my gosh, the strategies, the dynamics, the social dynamics, the politics, everything about this season was just spot on, perfection. Unlike the previous seasons that I talked about, where the earlier seasons had kind of just these just kind of goofy challenges, I feel like this season actually had like a great mixture of fun, entertaining, competitive competitions, but they were very diverse, and they weren't so on the nose with just like a specific type of strength. So yeah, like I said, this season, just so much about it was just great. Like, I think everyone knows this season, all the drama that happened from it with Katie versus Veronica. Then you had Julie versus Veronica situation happen. Then you have Coral versus Trishelle versus Mike, The Miz. Like, just so much happened this season. This would be a very long video. You can do a whole segment on just this season. But yeah, so number 1, without a doubt. Yeah, so that's why it's at number 1, and it will always remain number 1. I don't see any new season coming out that's gonna take this spot. So yeah, so that's our challenge ranking, Reality Radio Pod's challenge ranking, and comment down below. Let us know what do you think. What do you think of our list? Do you have a different number 1? So yeah, so just comment down below, like and subscribe, and you can follow us at Reality Radio Pod on Twitter, or at The Challenge MTV on Twitter as well. Thank you guys for watching.